purges of senior party members and arrests of fugitives made the headlines in China this year.
And in Taiwan, politics took an exciting turn as the island elected its first female leader. The year had already begun when Taiwan celebrated the dawn of a new political era. It decisively elected Tsai Ing-wen as its new president, making her the island's first female leader. Like many Taiwanese election battles, the build-up to the vote was lively and at times heated. During the campaign, Eric Chu of the ruling Kuomintang party acknowledged public disapproval of the KMT. But Chu pointed out that voters shouldn't put the island's future at risk because of this. He stressed the KMT's desire for a stable and open Taiwan and its experience in dealing with the mainland. He warned Tsai and her Democratic Progressive Party would make the island more isolated from the world, especially given past hostility to Beijing. Tsai, who had led in the polls throughout, argued the KMT had stopped listening to the people. She said this had resulted in political crises, such as the Sunflower Movement, which saw protesters occupy parliament and take to the streets to voice their opposition to trade agreements with the mainland. James Soong of the People's First Party was the third candidate. He attacked both the KMT and DPP on the campaign trail. His platform argued the two parties hadn't done much for Taiwan despite dominating the island's politics for the last 16 years. In the end, Tsai comfortably beat Chu while Soong was third. Tsai's victory was made sweeter when the DPP also won a majority in the legislature. But given the DPP had long supported Taiwan independence, many were watching to see how she would handle cross-strait ties with the mainland. So far, Beijing had been far cooler towards Tsai than her predecessor Ma Ying-jeou of the Kuomintang. Although she favors pragmatic cross-strait relations, Tsai angered Beijing when she did not reference the 1992 consensus in her inauguration speech. It's a principle in which both the mainland and Taiwan agree there is only one China, but both sides are free to interpret it as they see fit. Since May, China has stopped communications with Taiwan in a demonstration of its unhappiness with Tsai's ambivalence. But many in Taiwan support her progressive social and economic platform and her pledge not to let economic ties with the mainland go against the island's core democratic interests. Only a few weeks after Tsai was elected, a deadly tremor shook southern Taiwan. The magnitude 6.4 quake hit just north of the city of Kaohsiung in the early hours of the morning. The quake caused widespread damage to buildings and infrastructure. One of the worst affected areas was Tainan. A 16-story apartment block was one of many buildings to collapse. The Weiguan Golden Dragon building had 90 units and more than 200 residents. After the quake, the floors collapsed on top of each other. The entire structure was almost unrecognizable. Many of the casualties were in that collapsed apartment block. Taiwan's outgoing president, Ma Ying-jeou, rushed to Tainan to witness the damage firsthand. He also visited the injured in hospital. He vowed to follow up on suspicions that the heavy casualties may have been caused by slapdash construction works. President-elect Tsai canceled her Lunar New Year tour across Taiwan and also headed to Tainan to visit survivors in the hospital. She also thanked rescue workers for their tireless work in the days immediately after the disaster. She promised her administration would review the structure of all old buildings in Taiwan. In total, 117 people were killed in the tremor, making it the deadliest since the 1999 earthquake. China experienced a bumpy start to 2016 when it saw sharp sell-offs in its stock markets. A trading curve was put in place after the first crash, but this was suspended after January 7th as Chinese stocks plunged 7% that day. From January 4th to the 15th, China's stock markets fell by 18%. The sell-off was felt around the world, with stocks in Europe and the United States going down by as much as 3%. In July, a Chinese court sentenced former President Hu Jintao's top aide to life in prison. Ling Jihua was convicted of corruption, illegally obtaining state secrets, and abuse of power. Ling was convicted of taking more than 77 million yuan in bribes personally and through his wife and son. He was found to have abused his position of power to solicit bribes and seek favors for his associates, including jobs, promotions, and property purchases. Also in July, a diplomatic setback for China as an international arbitration court in The Hague handed down an historic and sweeping award to the Philippines. Manila had taken Beijing to court over its steady encroachment in the South China Sea, building settlements on islands and waters claimed by other nations like the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia. Beijing refused to participate in the legal proceedings. So when the court's ruling was delivered, it was overwhelmingly in favor of the Philippines' claim that China did not have the right to the entire South China Sea. As expected, China refused to accept the court's ruling, hardening its diplomatic and legal positions. At the end of October, China's Communist Party gave President Xi Jinping the title of core leader. The announcement put Xi on par with past strongmen like Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping. In November, the leader of Taiwan's opposition Kuomintang, Hung Shu-chu, led a delegation to the mainland. There, she met President Xi Jinping, who acted in his capacity as head of the Communist Party. Hung pledged to end hostility between the island and the mainland. The pair agreed, maintaining cross-strait peace and stability is essential, with Xi warning against any moves towards independence. Also in November, one of China's most wanted fugitives was returned to the mainland. Yang Shuju was accused of stealing $39 million while serving as deputy mayor of Wenzhou in Zhejiang province. She surrendered to authorities after being returned to China from the United States. Yang had been on the run for 13 years. No explanation was given for why she turned herself in, but her brother, a former regional official also wanted for corruption, was returned to China last year. And there were celebrations for China in November when a pair of astronauts returned from a month-long stay aboard the country's space station. It was the country's 6th and longest crewed mission yet, and a sign of the growing ambitions of its space program. Veteran mission commander Jing Haipeng and first-time space traveler Chen Dong were in good spirits after their Shenzhou 11 return vehicle landed on the frozen steppes of Inner Mongolia.
Coming up, a major leak exposes how the rich and famous hide their assets, while Brazil survives political scandal and Zika to host the Olympics. Plus, we say goodbye to some famous names.